What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're doing well. So, a lot to cover today. We got NHL trade deadline recap and NFL free agency, which we got stuff still happening as I speak. So, this should be probably a bit of a marathon today, but let's get right into it. So, start with the NHL trade deadline, all the big moves that happen. Lightning kick things off with a big move. They make a three-team trade, them Seattle as well as Detroit. We had the Lightning, they acquire Yanni Gourde, as well as Oliver Bjorkstrand. So they reunite with Yanni Gourde, who started his career in Tampa. He's been in Seattle for a bit. They get Gourde and Bjorkstrand, as well as Kyle Ochoa, who's like some just throwing defenseman prospect. And they get a 26th fifth. Seattle gets Michael Isamont, a 25 second-round pick. And then they get a 26 and 2027 top 10 protected first-round pick. They're also paying half of Yanni Gourde's salary. They used to do $6.1 million this year, and he's in last year of his deal. And Detroit's paying 25% of Yanni Gourde's deal. Tampa's actually only paying 25% of Yanni Gourde's deal, and Detroit also gets a 25 fourth-round pick for their troubles. So Gourde's getting a little bit older. He is now 33. Not an all-star anymore. He actually was never an all-star, but never made an all-star. Not like an elite player anymore, but he's still a good player. Has had injuries this year. He's only played 37 games here, but 6 goals, 12 assists, 18 points in 37 games. Now he's been declining since last year. He had 48 points in each of the previous 2 years. Before last year, he had 33 last year. So it's been declining, but he's still a solid guy for the bottom six. He used to play in Tampa, was with them for their cup years. He's good on the back end. He won the Selke Trophy 2 years ago. So he's a good player. And Bjorkstrand is also a really good player. He is arguably probably the big possession, the big move, the big piece of this trade. He was an all-star last year. This year, 17 goals, 21 assists, 38 points. That's what he has so far this year. He's a very good player. He's still 29. He's a good player that the Lightning get back as well. Going the other way is Michael Isamont. He's a good young player. This is a nice piece for Seattle. Seattle's obviously a young team, obviously. They're a recent expansion team. They have only been a team for, 3 or 4 years now. I think this is only their 4th year as a team. And Isamont is a good piece for them to get back. And he's overall played pretty well this year. He's still very young. And so overall, Lightning get 2 guys that could possibly help them on their playoff run. As they're, obviously they have a bit of an older team, trying to see if they can get one more run out of this team. Obviously, you won back-to-back cups a few years ago. Then you won the cup final a 3rd straight year, but then fell to the Avalanche in the last 2 years. You've lost earlier on in the playoffs. Obviously, you losing the first round to Toronto 2 years ago. And last year, I think you had a first-round playoff exit as well. So trying to get back to a deeper playoff run, you add 2 pieces in Gourde and Bjorkstrand. And Seattle gets a young player that they can evaluate. And they get a bunch of picks. And then obviously the Red Wings, because they're taking up on Gourde's salary for their efforts, they also they get an extra 4th rounder as well. Penguins and Predators maybe trade. The Predators acquire Michael Bunting from the Pittsburgh Penguins. They send Tommy Novak and Luke Schenn the other way. Bunting is a really good player. He's now 29 this year. 14 goals, 15 assists, and 29 points. He's been around the block. He started in Arizona. Then he was in Toronto. He was in he was on Carolina. Started in Carolina last year. Then he was traded to Pittsburgh in the Jake Guentzel trade, and now he gets sent to the Penguins. He's a good player. He's a solid scorer. He's a guy who's put up 40 plus points multiple times. He's actually had a career 653 in 22. He had 55, I think, last season. And so I guess slight down year this year, but he's a good player. He's also very tough. He's can be a bit of an enforcer as well. He can fight, so he's a very good player. Interesting trade for Nashville to make because they're at the race. Obviously, one of the biggest disappointments of the season. They make a bunch of moves in free agency. You spent a lot of money. After you lose in the first round last year. as they pretty much always do. And obviously, they've been one of the worst teams in the league. It's blown up in their face. He's not on his plan. But you acquire Bunting, you send Tommy Novak and Luke Shen the other way. Novak is a pretty good player. He's a solid young player. Obviously, Penguins have obviously that aging core. We have Crosby, Malkin, and who's the defenseman? Chris Letang. But Novak is a young player. He is still only 27 years old. He's got 13 goals so far this season. It's a solid young player for the Pittsburgh Penguins to evaluate. And then Luke Shen actually got to the Winnipeg Jets. Shen has been around for a very long time. He's now 35 years old. Doesn't give you a whole lot offensively anymore, but he's still a solid defender on the back end. He's been around for a very long time. Penguins got a 4th-round pick back, I think, next year for Luke Shen. So they send out Michael Bunting, a guy that I guess they didn't see in their future plans, and you get a good young player back. And Tommy Novak, and then you flip Luke Shen for a 4th-round draft selection. So that was another move that was made. Moving on. I'm supposed to make my computer. I apologize, so I'm bringing off my phone. Capitals make a move. They got Anthony Beauvillier from Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh continues to sell off. Beauvillier goes to Washington for a 2nd-round pick. So when Beauvillier first came up with the New York Islanders, I thought he was going to be a really good player in this league for a long time. He hasn't quite blossomed into the star we all thought he was going to be. But and he's bounced around a lot. He was traded 2 years ago to Vancouver in the Bo Horvat trade from the Islanders. Then he ended up later that in the same season, then next season he was in Vancouver, Chicago, and Nashville, and then this year he signed with Pittsburgh, and has just been sent to the Washington Capitals. So he's bounced around. He had 18 goals between the Islanders and Vancouver a couple of years ago. Last year, struggled. Was a tough year for him last year. Little better this year. He has 13 goals, but still not to his full potential to what he's flashed in the past. But he's still 27 years old. It's not like the guy is a complete lost cause. Now he goes to a contender. I'm not sure how much playing time he will get, but that's a nice pickup for the Capitals. Give a 2nd-round pick for him, and 2nd round is a good return for the Penguins. I'm sure you weren't gonna. They figured, they think there was a whole lot there, so they flip them to the Washington Capitals, who pick up another piece for their playoff run. As of course they are currently sitting at 1st place in the Eastern Conference. Alex Ovechkin is 9 goals away from Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals record. I'm imagining he breaks the goals record and wins the Stanley Cup. That I don't see anyone ever touching Wayne Gretzky. I would not put Ovechkin over Wayne Gretzky all time, maybe as a pure goal scorer. However, you probably can't make a top 5 without Ovechkin if he wins the cup and breaks the goals record. He's got the all-time goals record, the 50-goal streak, and 2 cups. It's hard to say he's not at least the 4th or 5th player ever, best player ever. Golden Knights and Rangers make a trade with the Sharks involved. So Rangers send Riley Smith back to the Golden Knights, where he spent the best years of his career. In return, Rangers got a defenseman prospect in Brendan Brisson. Hasn't done a whole lot in the minors, but he's a former 1st-round pick in 2020. The Sharks also got a 3rd-round pick in this move. Rangers are going to pay half of Smith's salary. I didn't think that was the best move ever when Drury made it. Like, gave a 3rd-round pick for an aging Riley Smith. That was never really that smart of a move. And now you're paying half his salary for him to play somewhere else. But they got a somewhat decent prospect back for him, which is good. But Riley Smith has not had the best year. He's just kind of been okay. He's a solid 3rd-line guy at this point in his career. He's definitely on the back end of things. But Riley Smith goes to the back to the Vegas Golden Knights. But the Rangers didn't stop there in a buying mode. They get Carson Soucy. They acquire him from the Sharks for a 3rd-round pick. I think it's a solid move for the Rangers. He's going to be on the same defensive pairing and has been with Will Borgen. They were together in Seattle and were on the same line, so those two reunite. They have chemistry together. Soucy is a solid player. Overall, he's had a good year. 3 goals, 7 assists, and 10 points this year with Vancouver in 59 games. He's a decent defender on the back end. Not a great defender, but about a league average defender defensively, and he's a solid puck mover. Had 10 goals 1 year in Seattle in 2022. I think that was 3 years ago. And he's 30. He signed through next year at a pretty fair rate. So I think this is a fair trade for both sides. Rangers pick up defenseman. Colorado makes a big move. They pick up Brock Nelson from the New York Islanders. Obviously, you made that shocking trade sending out Mikko Rantanen, but with what's going on with him, it probably ended up working out because you got Martin Ainges back in that trade, also got Jack Drury back in that trade, got some picks back, and you get Brock Nelson. Nelson is a really good player, 20 goals, 23 assists this year. He's had 37, 36, and 34 goals in each of the last 3 years. Getting a little older. He's 33 now. 30 goals might not clip that, but still he's had at least 20 in all but 1, 2, 3 of his seasons, and he's been in the league since 2014. The only year he did not have at least 20 goals was his rookie year in 2014. He had 19 in 2018, and he had 18 in 2021, but he missed a lot of time with injuries that year, so pretty much he's a guy who's good for 20, 25 goals. He's had 30-plus goals each of the last 3 years. He's a really underrated goal scorer. Like I said, declining a bit, but he's still a really good player, still a very good goal scorer. So an excellent second-line center. That's a big pickup for the Avalanche, but I want to get a very good return for him. Guy who's spent his entire career there. They get Callum Ritchie back in that trade. He's a very good prospect. They also got a young defenseman in Oliver Kylington. He started in Calgary. He was in Colorado this year. Hasn't played a whole lot, but still 27 years old. Had a big year a couple years ago with Calgary in 2022. 9 goals, 22 assists, 31 points. And he won the Wadey Bing Trophy that year as well. And then he missed a year with injuries, and that's kind of really affected him. He has injuries have kind of derailed him the last few years, but he's shown the ability in the past to be a really good defenseman, still 27 years old. Islanders team that kind of needs to pick a direction. You have an aging team that is not very good. Obviously, the GM there, Lou Lamoriello, loves his old players for whatever reason. So you send the guy, Nelson, which hurts to trade him, but he's going to be a free agent. He's getting older. You have like a really good prospect. You could get back a young player who's flashed to be a really good defenseman in this league, still 27 years old. And you get a first rounder in 2026 and a third rounder in 2028. So a good return for the Islanders there. Red Wings make a move as they are battling for they are deep in the wild card race. They pick up Craig Smith and Peter Mrazek from. They got him from those two guys from the Chicago Blackhawks. They bring back Mrazek, who started his career with the Red Wings and had some good years there. They send Joe Veleno the other way. So this overall is a good move, I would say, for the Red Wings. They're weird because they went like 25 years making the playoffs in a row, and they haven't made the playoffs in like 8 years. Every year it looks like they're about to make the jump. And they keep coming up a little bit short. Part of it is the Eastern Conference is very deep. It has been for a while. Mrazek hasn't had a good year. He has only his goals against average this year isn't that good. It's only 346, 890, so it looks ugly. However, Chicago defensively is really, really bad. He has been a bad goalie statistically wise for the last 4 years between Toronto and Chicago. However, the last time he was in front of a good defense in Carolina in 2021, he had an excellent year. He's obviously at the back end of his career. He's now 32 years old. He's been in the league for a while. His first full season was back in 2015. And didn't really get full-time playing time until next year, 2016. So I do think if you put him in front of a solid defense, he can be a solid backup. But he's not, I won't say he's a star at this point in his career, but he goes back to Detroit. They have a solid goalie over there now. Thankfully, they gave him an extension, so that gives him a better backup goal. And they also pick up Craig Smith in a deal as well. Craig Smith's been around a while. He started in Nashville, had some good years there. He was living in Boston briefly, and he's been in Chicago. He's 35 years old, not the same player, but has In 40 games, has 9 goals, so he's still a solid bottom 6 guy. Not going to give you 25 goals like he did in 2018 in Nashville. He's bounced around. Was in Washington briefly as well as Dallas last season. But it's a bottom 6 guy that they add as well. And then Joe Veleno goes the other way to Colorado. And he's a young player. Hasn't done a whole lot to this point in his career. But he had 12 goals, 16 assists last year in Detroit. And that's a young piece. I actually like that for Chicago a lot because obviously you're a rebuilding team. Send out 2 older players and get back a solid young piece who hasn't done a whole lot this year. Only 5 goals and 10 assists this year. But he had a good year last year, and he's still only 25 years old. So that's a nice job by Chicago for moving 2 older assets to get a young piece back. Kings make a move. They get Andre Kuzmenko, from the Philadelphia Flyers. Kuzmenko is a pretty good player. He's a bit of a weird case. He had 39 goals as a rookie in 2023. But since then, he's had nothing has really gone right. Last year, took a bit of a step back, 22 goals, 24 assists, 46 points. So a good year, but not what he was the year before. This year, he started in Vancouver. Last year, then he went to Calgary, and then now this year, he has struggled this year. Only 6 goals, he had only 4 goals in 37 games, but he's played really well since getting to the Flyers. 2 goals, 5 points, 7 games since getting there. Still 28. Like I said, he's only 2 years removed from making 39 goals. This is, I think, a good idea for the Kings to get a potential elite goal scorer if he can find his old self from 2 years ago. And the Flyers get a 2027 third-round pick back for him. I'm not sure why Philly even traded him, but it's the Flyers. Well, actually, no, like he was playing well for the Flyers, but I don't know. It's the Flyers. All I can say. Senators make a move with the Buffalo Sabres. So Dylan Cousins goes to Ottawa, as well as Dennis Gilbert and a 26-second. Josh Norris and Jacob Bernard Docker go the other way. So Cousins, very good player. He had 31 goals 2 years ago. Has not quite eclipsed that since, but he had 18 goals and 47 points last year, 11 goals, 31 points this year. So he's been regressing, but he's still just 23 years old. Showing the ability to be really good. Ottawa is a young team that's battling for a playoff spot right now. You pick up him. You also pick up Dennis Gilbert, a defenseman prospect, and a second-round pick. Josh Norris goes the other way. He's a guy who's shown the ability to be very, very good as well. He had 35 goals in 2022. Only played 8 games in 2023. Last year, 16 goals, but missed time only 50 games. But he's had 20 goals already this year. He's starting to finally show flashes of the guy who scored 35 goals a couple of years ago. So a lot of injuries the last couple of years, but he's still 25 years old. It's a nice piece for Buffalo, who's obviously a young team who they're the New York Jets of the NHL. They've missed the playoffs like 14 years in a row. Every year they're all right. They got some young pieces. Maybe they take a jump. It never really happens. But you move Cousins out and prospect in a second, but you get back a very good young player in Norris. And you also get Bernard Docker in the trade as well. He's a defenseman who's still only 24 years old and played very well last year. Hasn't played a whole lot this year, but he's shown the ability to be a good young defenseman as well. Those guys go to the Buffalo Sabres. Colorado did not stop at Brock Nelson. They make a move for Charlie Coyle, who's getting older. They get him from Boston. But Bruins get returned. They get back Casey Millstat. So as well, also get Will Zellers and a second-round draft selection. So this is a good move for both sides. Colorado picks up Coyle, who's getting older, now 32. He had a great year last year. Last year, best year of his career, 25 goals and 60 points. Step back this year, but still has 15 goals on the season. He's still a very solid second or third line center. The very good veteran, been in the league for a long time. Millsat's a good young player for Boston to get back as they look to retool. As they fall out of the race. They've had a brutal season this year, but he's already got 11 goals and 34 points this year. He had 15 goals, 59 points in 2023. Last year, put up similar numbers, and this year is about on that pace as well. So he's a good young center, only 26 years old. And Zellers is a good defenseman prospect. You get him in the trade as well. So this is a good return by the Boston Bruins, and we're gonna pull up what Will Zellers has done so far, and that's not gonna cooperate with me, but that's okay. But Zellers goes the other way as well, and the Miguel Randy gets traded again to the Dallas Stars. So obviously, Avalanche shockingly traded to Carolina. Was there for a few weeks. Things did not go as planned, and then Carolina sends him to the Dallas Stars. They get back Logan Stanovan, a first rounder, and a third rounder in 2026 and 2027. So they get a lot back. He was having his typical amazing year in Colorado. Obviously, this is one of the best players in the league. He's had back-to-back seasons with at least 40 goals and at least 100 points. And he's had at least 80 points, I think, 4 or 5 times in his career. So only 28. And he gets a huge extension, too. 8 years, $96 million. Of course, he was going to be a free agent at the end of the season. Was playing great for Colorado. Had 27 goals and 70 points in 62 games. No, he had 25 goals and 64 points in 49 games with Colorado, having his typical elite season. They traded him to Carolina because Carolina's team was kind of like on the edge of the playoffs. They've had a lot of injuries this year. Going to be a free agent. They shockingly traded him to Carolina. He did not play well. He looked just disinterested. Looked like he didn't want to be there because just looked lost. And Cameron's like, we can't lose this guy for nothing. Well, I don't know what they're doing over there. Something's in the water because guys cannot get out of there fast enough. They had Vincent Trocheck. He dipped as soon as he possibly could. You see how Miguel Rantanen gets there. They get Martin Nakes is a great player. Jack Drury's a talented young player as well. Had a bunch of picks. Rantanen didn't like it there, and they ended up having to trade him. They've had some defensemen. Brett Peskov's the guy you had for a while. He didn't resign for agency, so something's in the water over there. Doesn't seem like a very desirable spot to play for whatever reason. They're usually, and I like Rob Raymore as a coach, but they've been out of the second round once, and when they did, they got swept by an 8 seed Florida Panthers team 2 years ago in the conference finals. After last year losing the second round to the Rangers, and they're probably looking at a second round exit probably again. But at least they get a return. Logan Stankoven is a very good player. Still really young. 9 goals, 20 assists this year. Only 21. And you get 2 1s and 2 3s as well. So they got to get a return. But you basically traded Martin Natchez, Jack Drury, and a bunch of picks for Stankoven and 2 1s and 2 3s. So I'm not sure if that was worth it in the end for Carolina. But big pickup for Dallas. Gives up a lot. But they do get one of the league's premier players in return. And they also extended Wyatt Johnson a 5-year extension worth $8.4 million per season. Winnipeg Jets stayed busy. So obviously we mentioned they picked up Luke Shen. They also picked up Brendan Tanev. They send Seattle a 27th second-round pick. This is a good move. Tanev's getting old and now 33. Not the same guy anymore. But he's still a really good glue guy. He's a 3-time Selke Award winner. He's great on the back end. One of the best defensive forwards in the league. He's got 9 goals and 17 points this year. He's definition of a glue guy. Really solid guy to have in the bottom 6. Excellent piece for any contender. That's a nice pickup for Winnipeg Jets. And maybe the most shocking trade, the Boston Bruins traded Brad Marchand to the Florida Panthers. Picked up Brad Marchand. Marchand, now 36 years old. Has been with the Bruins his entire career, for his entire 16-year career. And not only has he agreed that they traded him to their division rival, the team that beat them in the playoffs each of the last 2 years, maybe their biggest rival right now, and the defending champs in the Florida Panthers. Look, Marchand is 36, he is declining, but still 21 goals, 26 assists, 47 points this year. He's still a really good player. He's going to be on the line with Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett. That's a nasty line to play against. Still a very good player. They were trying to come to an extension agreement. They were not able to do so. I can't stand the guy. I think he's a complete douchebag, but he's an excellent player. Even at his age, he's still very good. Still a very good center or third line guy. Can play wing and center. He's played predominantly wing since 2014. But this is and they get a conditional second in 2027, becomes a first runner in 2028 if he plays 25% of the games in the playoffs. this is not a good return. So you got a freaking for you had other players that you moved that you got more for. You got more for Charlie Coyle. Declining Charlie Coyle, you got back Casey Mills, that a good prospect and a second rounder. But Brad Marchand, your captain, one of the best players in your franchise history, certainly one of the best you've had in the last 15 years at least. You got a conditional second for in 2 years. And you traded them to your arch nemesis. Like that, I can't believe it did that. They got more for Brandon Carlo, like the least pick up Brandon Carlo. This is a good move for them. Bruins get back Fraser Minton, a 4th rounder this year, and a top 5 protected first in 2026. This is a good move. Carlo's a very good player, excellent on the back end, decent puck mover as well. But Fraser Minton's a nice guy to get back for the Bruins. He's a very good prospect that they get back. And they get back a 4th this year, and they top 5 protected. The Leafs were always good in the regular season, so they won't have a top 5 pick next year. So they got a 4th and a 1st next year for Carlo. As well as a very good prospect. But that's a good pickup for the Leafs. He's a very good defenseman that they needed. Senders stayed busy. Also, we mentioned that they sent out Josh Norris and Bernard Docker for Dylan Cousins, a prospect and the pick. They also pick up Fabian Zetterlund from the Sharks. He's a good player. 17 goals, 19 assists, 36 points last year. On pace to surpass his career from last year when he had 24 goals and 44 points. So only 25 years old. Going the other way, they also get Tristan Robbins in the 4th rounder. Also get Zach Ostapachuk, Noah Gregor in a 2nd rounder this year. So Tristan Robbins is a prospect that they get back. He is still 23 years old, so we'll see what happens with him. And Zach, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Ostapachuk. He is not played a lot. He's played 43 games this year. Only one career goal, but still only 21 years old. He was drafted in the 2nd round in 2021 by Ottawa, so young player for the Sharks to evaluate. Noah Gregor also goes the other way. He goes back to the Sharks where he started his career. His first 4 years, then was in Toronto, and then last year, and now Ottawa. He's never shown the ability to be more maybe a serviceable 3rd-line center. Hasn't played a whole lot this year, only 4 goals in 40 games. But he goes back to San Jose. Where he did have his best years. And they get a 2nd-round pick. But that's a big pickup for Ottawa to get Fabian Zetterlund. An excellent trade for them. Rangers made another small move. They got Nicholas Olb-Kubel from Buffalo for Eric Brandstrom. Olb-Kubel, he hasn't done really anything this year. Only 19 games in Buffalo and just 2 points. But he's shown the ability in the past to be a solid 3rd-line wing. He's bounced around the league for a while. Now 28. He's a depth piece for the Rangers. Rangers have had some injuries this year at the forward spot. Chris Kryer's been out for a little bit. You're just getting him back. It's a team that's getting older. Guys like Kreider and Trocheck, although Mika Panarin's still elite, but these guys are getting older. They got a younger piece in Kubel. And Brandstrom, he has not played a single game since they got him in the JT Miller trade. But he's a pretty solid offensive defenseman, but he's terrible on the back end. Rangers have so many defensemen. No room for him. Might as well send him away for a guy that can help you. And Leafs made another trade, but they got Scott Lawton. They got him a 4th and a 6th, and also only paying half the salary because Flyers are paying half the salary. But Flyers get back Nikita Grebnekin, a prospect, and a conditional 1st in 2027. I think this is honestly an overpay for the Leafs. Lawton's a good player, but he's never had more than 43 points in a season. He's a solid 2nd or 3rd-line center, nothing more. So solid pickup. I think they were paid for him as a good return for the Philadelphia Flyers. For NFL free agency, there's still moves happening as I speak. There's been a bunch of stuff that dropped outside of what I already have planned. So the Lions signed DJ Reed, 3 years, $48 million with $32 million guaranteed. Really good move for the Lions. I think this makes a lot of sense for them. I think a lot of people honestly could have predicted this. You needed another corner. Carlton Davis is a free agent. Obviously had a ton of injuries on defense last year. You have another good young corner in Terry Nunn, who drafted in the 1st round last year. Reed had a really strong tenure the last few years with the Jets. Very good cover corner. Excellent corner, too. And he gets his bag from the Detroit Lions. Really good move for them. Panthers signed Trevon Moehrig, 3 years and $51 million. So this one surprised me. mean, I wasn't sure if he was going back to the Raiders. I mean, I wouldn't want to play for the Raiders either. But he gets a bag from the Carolina Panthers. So that is a big move for the Panthers. I'm not sure if it's a good move, but it's certainly something. So Mo Ring is now a Carolina Panther. I'm trying to pull up see if this is a good move or not for them. He was a former first-round pick, I believe. Started off like, a typical Mayock miss, but has gotten better as time has gone on. Very reliable. Only missed 2 games throughout his entire career. And 104 tackles last year. He had two fumble recoveries as well as a sack. So he had a pretty good year last year. Let's see how he was in coverage. Let's see if PFF will tell me how he was in coverage. Let's see, was he a first rounder? I believe he was. So he was decent last year in coverage. He's gotten better. He's a solid safety. I'm not sure if I would have paid him that much money. $17 million a year is a lot for Moore. I think this is a bit of an overpay. But the Panthers need a lot of help on defense, and they definitely pick up a piece that can help them on the back end of their defense. So Mo Ring goes to the Carolina Panthers. The New England Patriots make a huge splash and land Milton Williams. There was a lot of rumors that he was going to be going to Carolina, and all of a sudden he goes to New England. A 4-year deal of $104 million. This is a great move for the Patriots. Milton Williams had a great season last year. He was a X factor in the Super Bowl as well, where I think he had 2.5 sacks in that game alone. He had a great season, career year for the Philadelphia Eagles this past year. Kind of came out of nowhere. He was always a solid player, but this past year, only 20. Yeah, he had 5 sacks, a fumble recovery, pass defense in the 4th fumble. So excellent run stuffer, and he showed the ability to really push the pocket. Was a menace in the playoffs. So probably a slight overpay, but this guy was going to get overpaid. He was already the best free agent on the market. He was going to get overpaid by someone. I thought it would be by Arizona or Carolina. Wasn't sure if it was going to be New England, but Milton Williams is a New England Patriot. And the Patriots made other moves as well. They added Carlton Davis, 3 years, $60 million. We mentioned he's no longer on the Lions. He's a very good quarterback too. Had a very good year last year in Detroit. Was in Tampa before that. They had him. Also out Howard Landry, 3 years, $43.5 million, up to 46. That makes a lot of sense. 26.5 guaranteed. He played most of his career under Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, so those two reunite. He's had at least 8 sacks. I think in every single year that he's played, he's been fully healthy. He's a very good pass rusher that New England adds. So they add a lot of pieces to their defense, and they bring in Morgan Moses as well. 4 years, $29.5 million. He's a solid right tackle. Getting older. I call him it's like the reliable meme from SpongeBob. Like he opens the case. It's a famous meme, and that's what Morgan Moses to me. He's a solid right tackle. It's better than what they had. I mean, they've had Michael Wendell over there, but he probably should be playing guard. And I think they'll move him to guard. So New England Patriots have been very busy. Also, they have a lot of money to spend. And also, the Seattle Seahawks have signed Sam Darnold. 3-year deal worth up to $110.5 million and $55 million guaranteed. I think it's a solid move for the Seahawks. Obviously, you trade away Geno Smith. You've been trading away everybody. We'll get to who else went in a minute. Obviously, Metcalf went to the Steelers. I'll just say it. Just say it now. But Darnold, look, can he do it again? That remains to be seen. But he played very well last year. He rejuvenated his career with the Minnesota Vikings. He deserved to be a star somewhere. And So he gets paid. And this is actually, I thought he would get a little bit more, actually. I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't, but that comes to like $36, $37 million a year or something like that. So it's 3 years. He's only so much better than Geno Smith. I might have, at that point, I'm not sure if it was worth a third rounder to give him up. I might have just ran it back of Geno, but he wanted an extension and you couldn't agree. I get why he did it. If he continues with what he did last year, he gets a sweat upgrade over Geno Smith. But that is a big deal for Donald Maciel. And as a Jeff fan, I'm very happy that he got his bag. Just did not do enough to build around him, and I'm happy that he got the money that he wanted and that he did. I thought he did deserve. Slew of other moves that happened. The Bills let go of Von Miller, saving $17.5 million against the cap. Teams, both sides are open to maybe reuniting on a one-year deal. Von, ever since the torn Achilles a couple years ago, has not been the same. He's a Hall of Fame pass rusher. It's not a discussion. The guy's been a Pro Bowler, God knows how many times. You know, 2-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP. He's one of the all-time great pass rushers. But 2 years ago, only had 3 tackles in 12 games. This past year, he missed a few games of injuries. Did not start a single game. Only 17 tackles. Did have 6 sacks. So a serviceable pass rusher. He can rotate in on passing downs. Maybe get to the quarterback, but he's now 35. Doesn't have a whole lot left. Bills needed that money elsewhere. They let him go. Falcons let go of Grady Jarrett as well. This one was a surprise. Getting a little bit older, he's now 30. He's going to be 32 next year, but still a good player. 53 tackles, 2.5 sacks this past year. It saves the Falcons $12.1 million against the cap. Fans loved him. He's an excellent player, but been around for a while, but they have so much money tied up in Kirk Cousins. It's going to be a mess to get out of that contract, so they got to get cap space somewhere that the defense needs to want to help. But now they need even more because they probably cut their best front 7 piece. And probably second best player overall, at least on that side of the ball, besides AJ Terrell in secondary with Grady Jarrett. Panthers extended J.C. Horn 4 years, $100 million with $70 million guaranteed. I don't understand this. Horn's a good player. He finally stayed healthy for the most part last year. Had a very good season. He had 68 tackles, an interception, 13 pass defenses, and 2 sacks. Made his first ever Pro Bowl. But he's missed a lot of games. He's never played a full season. He's missed a lot of games throughout his career. He made him the highest paid DB ever. It's simply an overpay. If he stays healthy, continues to get better. He was solid in coverage this year. I think if he stays healthy, he can be a good corner. A borderline 1, excellent 2. But I'm not sure if he was worth $25 million a year. That's kind of an insane contract. So Panthers, I think overpaid 2 guys, but I do need help on the defensive side of the ball for sure. But see, anything else come in? Don't think so. But anyways, Josh Allen got a ginormous extension, 6-year extension worth $330 million, and the NFL record $250 million guaranteed. $250 guaranteed. The record was Deshaun Watson when he got $230 guaranteed from the Browns a few years ago. That just got awful contract. Allen got $250. Look, what a year this guy's had. MVP, amazing season 1 MVP. Married Haley Steinfeld and just got a $330 million contract. Wow, what a year for Josh Allen. The last, I guess since, September. So September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So, these last 7 months for Josh Allen, every guy wants to be Josh Allen. He's got the bag, he's got the lady, he's got everything. Oh, my God. He had 4 years left on his deal, too. He's had a 6-year extension a few years ago with the Bills. But it puts him under contract for another 10 years. He'll be a Bill for life. Right now, the best quarterback in the league. He's amazing. He's a guy who, great story, was not very highly recruited out of high school. Sent an email with some of his game tape to every college in the country. Got one response from Wyoming. You got the Bills got clowned for drafting him as high as they did, and the guys worked hard and turned into an amazing player. So good for Josh Allen. Obviously, hasn't gotten done in the playoffs quite yet, but the guy's amazing. Any team besides maybe the Chiefs or maybe the Bengals would take him as their quarterback in place of the guy that they have. And the Browns found the way to keep Myles Garrett, but it was not cheap. A 4-year extension worth $40 million a year, $123 million guaranteed. He's now under contract with the Browns for 6 more years, a total of $204 million. So $40 million a year for he's the highest paid non-quarterback ever in NFL history. I don't know what the Browns are so clueless. Look, Myles Garrett's amazing. To me, he's the best defensive player in all football. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer when he retires. But good Lord, he's taking up like 15 or 70% of the cap. You don't have an NFL quarterback on your roster. What am I doing? He's amazing. I'm saying he's not worth it. But God, just my God. Saints make a small trade. They get Devon Gochaw for a 7th round pick. He's a solid run stuffer. I mean, the Saints need all the help they can get. 6-7 tackles this past year. He didn't have a single sack. Only has 5.5 sacks in 8 years in the NFL. He's a good run stuffer. He had a pass defense. Patriots they just brought in Mint Williams, and you have Christian Barmore coming back, so his services were no longer needed. You get nothing for him, but he also supposed to do like 11 or 12 million next year. They could use that money somewhere else. And obviously, yeah, big trade that the Raiders made to get Geno Smith for a 3rd round pick. This is a good move for the Raiders. Geno, he's turned himself into a half-decent quarterback this past year. Completed 70% of his passes for 4,320 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 15 picks. He's about an average to an above-average quarterback. He's a lot better to whatever the Raiders had going on over there. But the Raiders, we said they have a quarterback, and they can still draft somebody because he's only got 1 more year left on this deal. He did want an extension. I'm not sure if that'll happen, but Seattle gets a 3rd round pick for him. Sam's probably a slight upgrade over Geno for Seattle. And the Pittsburgh Steelers make a huge move. They get DK Metcalf for a 2nd round pick and give him a 5-year, $150 million extension. Metcalf is very good. I think a touch overrated. He had over 1,300 yards his 2nd year. He's had at least 1,000 yards in back-to-back years. And last year, 6 catches for 992 and 5 scores. Did miss a couple of games with an injury. It's a good move for the Steelers to give a 2nd round pick. They desperately needed another receiver. He's a really good receiver. Him and George Pickens. Those two are going to get into there's going to be a lot of fighting on the field with those two. But they're very good, very volatile, but very good. But Metcalf goes to the Steelers. So Seattle obviously making a lot of changes on the offensive side of the ball, and he gets a bag. A lot of re-signings. Oh, but before that, the Jets are signing Justin Fields. 2 years, $40 million with 30 guaranteed. I think this is a good move for the New York Jets. Look, he has not been a success since being a 1st round pick by the Bears a few years ago, but he's gotten a smidge better. Was playing well for the Steelers last year. They should have kept him in. He obviously has not, improved as a passer as much as we would have liked, but just we're in a tough spot. $20 million for a starting quarterback is not that much in today's day and age. I think it's a good move. It's worth a shot. If he sucks this year and you want to move on next year, that's a movable contract. But the New York Jets have signed a quarterback in Justin Fields. So I think this is a good move. That's a good move for the New York Jets. I think that was probably the best thing they can do at the quarterback spot. So wow, Justin Fields is just quarterback 1 in 2025. But moving on, back to the re-signings. Bucks re-signed Lavonte David a year for 10. They do this every year. He's getting older, but still a very good linebacker. And not great in coverage anymore. But even at 34 last year, he had 122 tackles last year, and 5 5.5 sacks, 6 pass defense for 3 forced fumbles. He might be a Hall of Famer, or probably not. Only one Pro Bowl, but he's a 4-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champion. Fields is not Fields. I got Fields all in my mind. Levante David is now remains with the Bucks. Hollywood Brown, they re-signed him for a year and $11 million. He missed most of the year last year, but when he plays, he's a solid 2 or 3, solid deep threat. Basically the same contract he got last year. The Chiefs are going to try again with him. Ravens re-signed Ronnie Stanley, 3 years, $60 million, 44 guaranteed. Got some injury concerns, but when healthy, which he's been mostly healthy the last couple of years, he's a very good left tackle. Ravens bring him back, protect Lamar Jackson, obviously. I thought he was going to leave. He ended up staying. Commanders re-signed Zach Ertz, a year up to $9 million, guaranteed 6.2. He had a pretty good year last year, actually, Zach Ertz. I thought he was washed, not necessarily. Last year he had a good season, 6 catches for 654 and 7 touchdowns. He had a good year. Ertz, even at 34, was still a solid security blanket for Jane Daniels last year. Chiefs re-signed Nick Bolton, 3 years, $45 million, $30 million guaranteed. He's a really good linebacker, Nick Bolton. That's a big piece for the Chiefs to re-sign. They also tagged Trey Smith for trying to keep the band together as much as possible. Good move to keep him in town for sure. Vikings bring back Aaron Jones, 2 years, $20 million. This is a good move. He's getting old for Roman. He is going to be 30. But last year, had over 1,100 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns, also had 51 catches. Still one of the better backs in the league. Aaron Jones remains with the Vikings. Jets re-signed Jamie Sherwood, 3 years, $45 million. He had a breakout year last year, led the league in solo tackles with 98. And he overall had a very good season for the Jets. He became a full-time starter last year. 158 total tackles, 2 sacks, 3 pass defenses, and was good in coverage. But Sherwood he's a good player. Chargers re-signed Khalil Mack, a year for $18 million. So good news is you won't be losing him and Joey Bosa. Mack's getting older, but still had 6 sacks last year. Still a very productive pass rusher. They bring him back. I think it's a fair deal. The Bucks re-signed Chris Godwin for 3 years and $66 million. I thought he was going to leave, but I guess 45 guaranteed. Before he got hurt, he was on pace for a career year. When healthy, he's a really good receiver. You keep him and Mike Evans together, which is a good move for the Bucks. Rams re-signed Jimmy Garoppolo for a year up to $11 million. I don't know what the guy is left, but needs somebody behind Stafford, I guess, with him getting older. The LA Rams signed Devontae Adams, 2 years and $46 million. This is a good move. Cooper Kupp is gone. We all know that they need a number 2 receiver. He's basically Cooper Kupp, but with a better ACL, I guess. He's still a very good receiver, excellent too. He goes back close to the home where he went to college at Fresno State. A very good move for the Rams as they're getting cut by the Jets. He's now a Ram. Jaguars signed Jordan Lewis, 3 years and for $30 million with $20 million guaranteed. This is a good move for them. Last year had 71 tackles, 8 pass fences in the pack, and he was solid in coverage. He's a solid corner. Jacksonville needs a lot of help on defense, and they got it with Jordan Lewis. Him and Tyson Campbell should be a solid duo. The Bears signed Drew Dalman to a 3-year deal where $42 million, $28 million guaranteed. Bears done a really good job redoing the interior offensive line. He's one of the best centers in the league, Dalman. The faculty is another piece. Now, with him, Joe Jackson, and Jeff Looney coming in, the interior offensive line looks a lot better. So, kudos to the Bears. Bucks make another move. Hassan Reddick, a year for $14 million. Look, he last year obviously was a disaster. He held out and did nothing with the Jets, but for 4 years in a row, he's one of the more productive pass rushers in all football. I think he's worth a flyer for the Bucks. Commanders signed Javon Kinlaw, 3 years, $45 million. From our first rounder by the 49ers, who have not quite lived up to his draft stock. He was a full-time star last year for the Jets and had his best year of his career, 40 tackles, 4.5 sacks, a fumble recovery, and 2 pass defenses. I think this is a bit of an overpay. However, he did have a good year last year. And the Commanders, again, you have elite quarterback on a rookie deal. You have a lot of cap space. You can afford to overpay some guys. Same thing when you paying Deebo Samuel $18 million this past year, only costing a 5th-round pick. Yeah, slightly overpaid for Kinlaw, but he's a piece that replaces Jonathan Allen. It is a downgrade from Allen, but still a nice piece to have on that D-line. And that's all I have for you today, I think. Let's see if anything else happened. Nothing. So enjoy the frenzy of free agency in the NFL. Back on Monday. Until next time, so long and have a great day.